Hey, everybody, welcome. Um, Welcome to the first day of the semester. Hopefully, our internet connection stays well. I don't see it running, but I'm assuming connection is good. Um, Let me get this so it's angled a little better. Today, I really just wanted to go over our syllabus. So, um, hopefully, this will put a little bit of light on the topics. We will meet in room 318. I know we're starting slow with coronavirus and whatnot. So I did the same with homework this week. Um, you can see the first discussion point here. It's the first week homework discussion. So the prompts are just how are the problems of individuals related to their overall social settings? So thinking of the community you grew up in, or where you went to school, or where you're at school now, and just like kind of how um, the social settings affect people and their access to resources and the ability to care for oneself and their family. And also describe how individual problems may be connected to larger social issues. So again, thinking in terms of locally, that could be your city you grew up in, your community, city council, statewide, and even federal. So thinking about federal resources and some of the access, a lot of that has changed with coronavirus. So people's access and ability to get into things can be they may be passing another $2.3 trillion stimulus next month. So we'll see how that goes. You may or may not have gotten the small check last year, and there's supposed to be one this year, depending on income. So starting out with that, syllabus is in the top. So to review it, you would click on it. You can download it and save it. And you can also get the PowerPoints as I put them up. We'll try to do a chapter a week. That's the way this book is designed. But class, if you come in person, make sure to bring the mask. I'm without one because you hear me better. But if we will be in 318, or you choose to watch it live electronically, or it should archive so you can watch past videos. Feel free. Either way, just keeping up with the assignments. There are a couple marker assignments that the Council on Social Work Education will look at, and that's for our accreditation. And again, because we are fully accredited by Council on Social Work Education, that qualifies any social work graduate here to a one-year master's degree. And that means you're cutting out 30 hours. To get my master's degree in social work, it took me 67 semester hours. I think for you guys, it would be 36, which usually advanced standing, they'll start in the summer right after you graduate, and you're finished by the spring, really. So it's almost 11 months and you have a master's right after graduation. So that's where accreditation is such a big deal and why we try to keep it and do these marker assignments. So Intro to Social Welfare, as you can see, the social work program is designed to prepare students for entry-level professional practice or the pursuit of graduate study. We have students do both. If you get a license in social work with your bachelor's in social work, you do not have to get a graduate degree. Some people choose to go on, and occasionally you get paid more when you have a master's in social work and an independent license in social work. Students are provided opportunities for the development of a broad and comprehensive theoretical knowledge base integrated with practical experiences. Students acquire social work skills, values, and ethics required for social workers in professional practices, also working in the criminal justice system, or even in agencies geared towards working with youth, elderly, and families. So I have done work in most of those areas. a quick history and background. My name is Dr. Jonathan Trouth. I finished my social work degree at the University of Kentucky. Then I did an MA in theology and pastoral counseling at Xavier, and went on to, while practicing, starting first at Claremont Recovery Center and then most recently at the Lighthouse Youth Services for the past 7 years. I'm in a private practice now, but I did my doctorate at the University of Cincinnati in their counseling program. So I've practiced in a variety of areas, as I've mentioned, private practice now and helping out at hospice. So on the weekends, volunteering at hospice and supervising there. So the gist of it is social work allows you to do a variety of things. And that's kind of what I've loved about the degree. For those of you that are doing a psych major, I did do a psychology undergraduate. And I wish I had double majored, social work and psychology, because I didn't realize that I would have qualified for a 1-year master's degree. It took me about 3 to do mine while working full time. So, scrolling through the syllabus, we cover what are called core competencies. So in social work, there are several core competencies that you will become proficient in. You get that in the intro to social work class. And the code of ethics and the values that we cover in social work, you'll practice with throughout your entire life. So some of the learning outcomes is describing the social work profession, values and ethics, and social work practice. You'll do that in your PowerPoint presentation and the discussions. There's a few major assignments here with papers and a presentation. And then there will be weekly discussions, as we'll set up as a hybrid based off of which day in person is better for everybody. Tuesday or Thursday. In person, I will always be up here live because that will cover my office hours. And then a hybrid the rest of the days. So online work, discussion boards, some videos for viewing, and the PowerPoints that we'll go through every week. You'll also learn how to demonstrate a knowledge, the cause of social problems, and the societal response. So that's starting as far back as the 18 and 1900s when we started moving social services through the system. Social workers are about 100 plus years old. They've been around for 100 years. When I got my doctorate in counseling, there was a feud between social workers and counselors because they've only been around 50 plus years. So social workers have been around longer, starting in the city of Chicago with Jane Addams. Also explore the contextual impact of the fate of social justice in the United States today and the interest of services. So again, more discussions. Also, we'll have you guys do the PowerPoint presentation. And your final exam likely will be a paper. I'm going to give practice questions for the LSW exam with answers and explanations so we can go through those. The required text is Dolgoff and Feldstein, and that's Understanding Social Welfare, a Search for Social Justice. Here's the PowerPoint. So that's what the book actually looks like, as I'm blocking some of it. Probably can get it online cheap. You can also rent it. I will be posting all of the PowerPoints as we go through them. As you see here, chapter 1 is going to be about socioeconomic structure, human needs, and mutual responsibility. It is fascinating to see the way that money is distributed throughout our system and the feds, Ohio State, which is mostly what I'm familiar with, and the city of Cincinnati, which is where I grew up at, finished at Purcell Marian High School. Everybody asked that one year from Cincinnati. So back to the syllabus, attendance and grading. Again, I will be filming these live. You will be able to watch these live, and you can type questions in here. I think it makes a noise. Like if I just write into the chat room, you guys can answer a question that way. If you do choose to come in person, again, it's 318 Wesley Hall. And then YouTube should archive these for later in the semester when you have to go back and look on things, or if you have something going on. Attendance mostly taken through discussion boards and your replies to other classmates. So that will be every week to 10 days. Same with class participation. So you're expected to actively participate in all activities. If anybody's live, write back to me on the chat. I said hi, and I can at least see if you're there. We'll have you all introduce yourselves also this week. If you do have special needs or the ability to get access to, some people have, when I went through college, I had dyslexia, so they gave me access to the book. Hello, Sarah J. The book recorded, so they had an audio of the book. If you have that, definitely contact our department that can assist you with that. They will send me a letter if you need extra assistance. And that's covering Americans with Disabilities Act, which is in your syllabus. And that is anyone requiring special adaptations of accommodations should inform the instructor as soon as possible, and you get the letter through our social services agency at the school. In accordance with the university procedures, if you have a documented disability, hello, Thomas, Dr. Wanda Haley, she's the disability coordinator. So you can either call her at 937-376-6479. Hello, Tyra Lee. Good to see you guys. It's nice to start back on a sunny day. And won't go long today, just introducing the syllabus, and then might start the PowerPoint, which I'll finish on Thursday. And just get you guys going with understanding social policy, where we got those wonderful checks for coronavirus. Hello, Dreama Swinigan. And student responsibilities. So again, there'll be attendance, active participation, completion of all the required readings, exploration of suggested readings for relevance, preparation. Also, if you do have a question, feel free to type that in there or send me emails come to my phone, so it will ding usually. And then I think Schoology, I check that at least every 24 hours, but it doesn't come directly to the phone. Syllabus also covers grading. It shows not only how you can pass, but you can do awesome in this class. General guidelines for class contribution grading, and this is students attending class without absence, students who is fully prepared, fully engaged. I know that we have both online and in-person students here, and that is okay. So that's why we'll have the weekly discussion boards and responses to one another. Cheating and plagiarism. By now, I feel like you're 2200 level sophomores. You guys have learned what that looks like. Most important fact there is to use citations. So anytime with paper, we use APA style, which I know is kind of new, but all the way through college, we had to use that. And essentially, if I quote my own research, it would say Trouth 2020. And if you do a direct quote, you put those direct quotes there. You could also paraphrase. APA also has a title page, so it would have your name, and we'll go over that when the papers come up. But blank for the first page, and then the content, if it's 3, 4, or 5 pages, and then the final page is called references. One thing that has helped me on the APA style is if you go into scholar.google.com, you can quote folks in their articles. The first one that comes up here for me is about trauma-informed care and even some of the legislation about it, and how you would quote them. And Google Scholar, if you're able to see that, it's over on this side, I can see. You hit the quotation mark, and then there's APA. So at the end, references makes it really easy. You can do copy paste. And if you were to quote these folks, if it's one author, it would be Lang 2020, or you do Lang et al. 2020. That is the easiest way to quote folks. I like when they have access to full text, and that's actually on this side. You can download the whole PDF of an article. So a big topic nowadays is trauma-informed care. There is a lot of funding coming through that. You can save the article and use it in your papers. So PowerPoints, well, I'll finish with the syllabus first. I see some of you have started on the discussion, so I get the notifications up here. With the syllabus, again, make sure to cite everything you use so there is no cheating or plagiarism. The assignments, it'll be evaluated based on your demonstration of critical thinking. And A through I here, is the content potentially relevant to the subject matter? Is it purposeful? Did it meet the goal or objective? Is it relevant with a precise question? Is there clarity? So using articles is the best way to cover a lot of these. Find an article on the Medicare Act, or find an article on the Medicaid Act, which is further down into the semester. Grade scale. So we have mostly discussions. The final, as I mentioned, will likely be a paper, unless if you guys beg me for an exam that you get, policy questions about, which they do on the LSW exam. I usually prefer to do practice questions with you in here and offer those answers and explanations. That's why usually a final paper is better. So also there is a PowerPoint presentation and a smaller paper. The class questions for consideration, there's a couple of those on the chapters. I think it is 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6. It'll be very similar to the discussion boards. And then the big paper, which we'll get into a couple weeks from now, but it's your individual social welfare topic paper. And you'll also do a presentation, which I usually combine the two, but you'll give your presentation to the class, and then the paper will be given to me. So I encourage you guys to do it on the same topic, because that way you can learn how to present everything that you're learning about. If it is, like food policy, food stamps, if it is Medicare policy, if it's the Medicaid, even the Coronavirus Act, which we had passed last year, that helped a lot of our small businesses get through the crash. So some topic examples, and we'll be given time to think about this. There's you can use newspaper, magazines, or journal articles. The best and highest esteemed are journal articles. You could use others. Sometimes it's harder to get digital copies of those things. You might have to pay for them, but journal articles we have access to through our library. You could do something on unemployment. All of us at our jobs pay into unemployment insurance. There's also workers' compensation. That's if you get hurt at work. When I worked at a social services agency, once I hurt my ankle, and the medical costs were all covered by that workman's comp. And if you miss a job, they pay for that. Also, contributions of American businesses to retirement planning. That's one that you'll see a lot of now. When you do get a job out of college, often your place of employment will match 5 to 15%. I don't know if 15 is the highest, but that's definitely the highest I've ever seen. Some agencies only match you 1%. They get cheap on that. So I always ask at a job interview what their retirement benefits are, because when they match, that is definitely a way to make it worthwhile Some retirements. The best I've seen is 15%. That was at Claremont Recovery Center. I think Lighthouse Youth Services matched 6%. Most people match between 6 and 8%. And they get a tax deduction for that. So that's one of the acts that was passed recently. We also have public assistance programs, the temporary assistance to needy families, also known as TANF. You also have supplemental security income, so SSI. There's also Medicare and Medicaid. In 2011, we had expansion, Medicaid expansion that helped really social workers to never go unemployed. Before 2010, it was easier to be laid off as a social worker. Now that we can bill both Medicare and Medicaid, it's easy for social workers to keep a job because there is a constant flow of funding. You can also do your topic about food and shelter programs. As an intern, and if you're a social work major, you will do an internship. I did mine at a homeless shelter. I worked at both Ray Street Tenant Organization Cooperative in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then the Hope Center recovery program in Lexington, Kentucky. And that was a homeless shelter and a drug and alcohol recovery. There's lots of funding for that. With our opioid epidemic, there is a lot of money. I think $400 million in the state of Ohio and $500 million in Kentucky for employment at a recovery program. Some of them are methadone clinics and whatnot. Public housing and Section 8 housing assistance. So a lot of my research in the doctoral program was about refugee resettlement, and we did have a ton of help with 300 refugees from Burundi, Africa, get settled into public housing. It's well known in Cincinnati, right off of the Hopple Street exit if you are from Cincinnati. And you pay based off of your income. It is a little harder to get the Section 8 housing voucher, but it is possible. And then any current shelter issues for either the homeless, publicly funded programs in American social welfare, or other voluntary services in the nonprofit sector. So there's a lot of topics you can choose from for your paper and your presentation. So the paper should discuss chosen social welfare topic as well as thoughtfully and thoroughly explore how it's a matter of social welfare as well as social workers, what social workers do to handle such an issue within their social work practice. So a lot of times I like to have the problem defined and then what do social workers do? And this could include psychologists, teachers, counselors, if you plan on going on for a psychology master's, a teaching degree, you open that up. Because a lot of times those are the first people we get a referral from, is a teacher noticing the kid is, they might be homeless and staying in the parking lot at school, so they need to help the family get housing. Again, it is APA style, so that's typed, double spaced. It's a 12 font, correct spelling and grammar. The cover sheet with the course title and students' names. That's the first blank page I've talked about. The date, 4 pages top to bottom, not including the cover page. That's why I say the blank one with just your name, and then the 4 pages underneath it, then the references. So paper would include a visual presentation that will be presented to the class. So I will have you all pick a date. And doing it virtually the past 2 semesters now, I guess this is our 3rd semester with coronavirus. I have asked, you can either come in and present it on the big screen here with our masks on, or you can film yourself and then make it available for the other students to see. And that's kind of how we've done the presentations that way. The other big paper will go on later in the semester, but it's the social justice topic, and that's child labor. That's what got social workers started in the first place in the early 1900s. access to clean water, which is a big thing most recently in Michigan, access to food, access to shelter and human dignity, how poverty affects human rights, the exploitation of children, human trafficking, which Ohio is known as some of the epicenter of because of I-75, getting quickly to Canada and as far south as Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida. Also, right to adequate health care, and that's been a recent one. Luckily, 10 years ago, we have all been given access to that. It's still being adjusted. Access to adequate food and nutrition. Also, how climate change impacts developing countries. So that's a recent one. There's some new research coming out on grand solar minimum. So that could be a topic for your large final paper and presentation. And then access to education. So that could be with minorities, poor, refugees, and even migrant workers. And then also censorship of textbooks, rewriting history. A few others include landfills, like the proximity to homes of poorer folks, and then even industrial air pollution. I think it was 1.5 million people last year died in China because of air pollution. So that's a lot of reason also why they wear the N95 masks daily. And then how it often affects the poorest and most vulnerable, medical experimentation. The last few is rights of disabled and mentally ill, the apartheid, slavery, and then access to social services. Those are possible topics. Then the presentation, you'll discuss the chosen social justice topic, as well as how social workers should handle an issue such as that within their social work practice. So again, getting back to when you identify what you'd like to do for a career, how you'll work with social workers or how you'll be the social worker that serves that population. And again, that'll be APA style and with the cover sheet and the references. So those are the 4 major assignments in this class. The weekly assignments are going to be the class discussion and getting through the PowerPoint. So how you get my help to go through it, how you ask or answer questions via Schoology or the email or the live chat. That is an option. Reading, we will cover the whole book, as I've mentioned. Here's what it looks like again. It's the Understanding Social Welfare. You can rent it, I think, too. So I think maybe the cheapest option is to rent it. I will try to get you access to the first chapter, as it takes a while to get them all mailed out for you guys. So chapter 1, I will cover this on Thursday. We'll go through it all. It is only, I don't know why I can't see the slides. It is only 19 slides. And without the cover, it's 18. But the overview is that social welfare functions to meet the maintenance needs of society by preventing instability and providing for social continuity. So again, food, water, shelter, those are the big ones. And it's only been passed in the past 100 years into law that we give assistance with that. Before, it was usually churches or social welfare groups that helped. So some of the cascading effects, there's disadvantages that can cascade. One problem can lead to another, in some cases to many. So, for example, the homeless issue or losing a job, starting with that, not able to pay rent, challenging to buy food. So then getting to either the homeless shelter or the soup kitchen nightly and the food pantry, which we've had those safeguards put into place. Food stamps, usually an individual can qualify for $100 to $200 a month to cover food. We have had inflation that makes that a little harder to pay for all the food you need. in a month. So that's usually why the food pantry will cover the last week or two of food in many situations. Sometimes when multiple problems exist, even the solutions can intensify the problems. And a good example there is also the food pantry. And if we're having trouble covering food and we become dependent on that, it is there for a lifetime. The idea is, again, to empower us, to empower ourselves to get back onto our feet and take care of ourselves. And it can be hard when we know that that food pantry is always there, or a subsidy for housing is always there until I get a job. And sometimes that makes it hard to motivate self to get a job, because I know when I start working for a few hundred a week that subsidy for housing is gone, and it's almost as if I didn't work and earn that paycheck. So those are some of the times when solutions can intensify the problems, and they try to adjust the policy based off of that. Other cascading effects, structural factors that tie poverty and unemployment to the economy are a shift from a goods producing manufacturing economy to service producing industry. So we used to make a lot of cars, especially in Michigan, and have other industrial plants that actually, with globalization, have moved overseas. And we've seen more of a service producing economy, like food services and eating out. And that's what a lot of the jobs are, maybe serving or a bus boy, or which is what I started out as at $4.25 an hour. And in the old days, if I went to steel production or car production, I could, fresh out of high school, get $15 to $20 an hour, which was a ton of money back then. Like one single family earner could pay for a family of four with that. Nowadays, that has become a little harder, and it might take two income producers to pay for a family. And then also the polarization of the labor market into low wage and high wage sectors. So we've seen a big push recently to have the minimum wage at $15, which could be helpful in some ways, but it also could shut down businesses that aren't able to pay that minimum wage. So there's the debate there, and we can have these debates in the discussions. And then increasing technology and offshoring. How many of you scan out at Kroger's or Walmart yourself? And I feel like after a certain hour, they only allow you to scan out yourself. And that way they don't have to pay third shift, which generally costs more for Walmart, or they don't have to pay for two registers, and you're doing the job of what somebody was paid to do in the past. Even some of the fast food restaurants are finding ways to automize and make it easier for the company to not have to pay employees. And a lot of those jobs are disappearing, along with the last word in there is the offshoring and sending other countries jobs, Mexico, China, because they could take $2 an hour instead of our $7.95 an hour. I forget what the minimum wage currently is. I think it did go up on New Year's Day, but when I started working, it was like $4 an hour. And I think since it has almost doubled. That was also, I think, first job for me was 1992. So other cascading effects, poverty in the United States has become more urban, spatially concentrated, and clustered, which has some truth to that. And this book was written in 2009, which is also the year we had the economic crisis with mortgages and the first $1 billion spending, almost $1 trillion spending bill. And they did see more poverty in the country. So really poverty has grown, and we'll have a few videos on poverty in America. It has grown everywhere. But generally when you want to get assistance, you go into the city where there is more assistance. Even in the city of Xenia, If you lived way out into the cornfields, but you need help, you go into the downtown chambers where the funding is available for folks. And we'll finish up with this cascading here. The next week Thursday we'll start with defining social welfare and social work. So residents living in the impoverished neighborhoods who may experience multiple forms of social and economic disadvantages are disproportionately members of minority groups. And the book outlines that, and research shows why we do have so many programs that assist folks. And it's definitely something that the country has continued to work on for many years. And that's what defines social welfare, and what we'll get into Thursday. So defining social welfare and social work. Social welfare is comprised of all the social interventions that intend to enhance or maintain the social functioning of human beings. Also, social work is a professional occupation that delivers social welfare services. So I am going to get up a few YouTubes and videos that will provide information for the discussion for the day when we are hybridized and online. As of now, I will still do at least a long video every week and a short video every week. On the 2 days that we meet, you are welcome to come into the classroom. We're in Wesley 318. Do bring your mask. I know it's harder to hear me with this on, but that is still our policy if you come in person. If you'd rather watch the archive or watch it live, check in here. And for now, just review the syllabus and PowerPoint number 1, and you'll have your first discussion board, which I see a lot of you have done. So discussion and then replies to folks that are in your classroom for now. And that is all I have for today. So I will see you all on Thursday. So have a good middle of the week.